Case summary. Smith v. Eric S. Bush, 1990, is a landmark case in English contract law and negligence, specifically concerning the duty of care owed by professionals, in this instance surveyors, and the effectiveness of exclusion clauses in contracts. Background facts. Claimant, Smith. Defendant, Eric S. Bush, a surveyor. Plaintiff, Smith, the homeowner. Smith purchased the house based on a valuation survey conducted by Eric S. Bush. The survey was commissioned by the mortgage lender, but Smith, as the prospective buyer, was provided with the survey report. The report, however, contained a disclaimer stating that the surveyor would not be liable for any inaccuracies in the report. Shortly after purchasing the house, Smith discovered significant structural defects that were not reported in the survey. Smith subsequently sued Eric S. Bush for negligence, claiming that Bush owed a duty of care and that the disclaimer was unfair and ineffective in exempting him from liability. Argument. Smith's argument. Smith argued that Eric S. Bush, as a professional surveyor, owed her a duty of care to provide an accurate report. The disclaimer, she contended, should be deemed unfair and invalid under the Unfair Contract Terms Act 1977 UCTA, which governs the enforceability of exclusion clauses in contracts. Eric S. Bush's argument. Bush argued that the disclaimer effectively excluded liability for any negligence on his part. He maintained that the disclaimer was a valid term of the contract between himself and the mortgage lender and, by extension, applicable to Smith. Final outcome and law justification. The House of Lords ruled in favor of Smith. The key findings were: 1. Duty of care. The surveyor owed a duty of care to the purchaser, Smith, even though the contract was between the surveyor and the mortgage lender. The surveyor knew that the report would be relied upon by the purchaser. 2. Exclusion clause. The exclusion clause was found to be unreasonable and therefore unenforceable under UCTA in 1977. The Lords considered the bargaining power of the parties, the cost and availability of insurance, and the practical consequences of imposing liability. Law justification. The court justified its decision based on several points. 1. Duty of care. Professional individuals who provide services knowing that third parties will rely on their expertise can be held liable for negligence if their actions cause foreseeable harm. In this case, it was foreseeable that Smith would rely on the survey report when deciding to purchase the property. 2. Unfair Contract Terms Act 1977. UCTA was pivotal in this case. The Act aims to protect parties with weaker bargaining power from unfair exclusion clauses. The surveyor's disclaimer was deemed unreasonable because 2a. Smith had no practical ability to negotiate the terms of the survey. 2b. The surveyor was in a better position to absorb or insure against the risk. 2a. Excluding liability would effectively leave Smith without recourse, which was contrary to the principle of fairness that UCTA intended to uphold. Key concept. Implication. This case reinforces the principle that professionals owe a duty of care to third parties who rely on their services, even if a contract exists with another party. It also highlights the importance of fairness and exclusion clauses, ensuring they do not unduly disadvantage consumers. Key learnings. 1. Exclusion clauses must be reasonable and cannot absolve professionals from liability if it leads to unfair outcomes. 2. Professionals should be aware of their duty of care to third parties who rely on their expertise. 3. Courts will scrutinize exclusion clauses under UCTA to ensure consumer protection. This detailed analysis underscores the importance of fairness and accountability in professional services and the role of statutory protection in upholding these principles.